ADHD Babes, the podcast, a podcast hosted by the ADHD Babes community for the community. Please note, nothing mentioned during the podcast is meant as a diagnosis. If you believe you have ADHD, please seek professional advice and visit or join ADHDBabes.com for help with diagnosis. No clinical diagnosis is required to join. And now, you're listening to the next episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast. Today's episode is hosted by me, Anna Ramos, and today we're going to be exploring ADHD, productivity, and neurodivergence in the workplace. Joining us for this discussion, we have Teresa Taylor. She's a personal productivity coach, and she is the CEO and founder of TaylorSpace.com. We'll be talking with Teresa about her work and tips to feel successful and learn to build systems to increase and improve productivity. So welcome, Teresa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're very welcome. We're very happy to have you. And is it possible if you can tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So a lot of people are surprised. My background is actually in engineering and business. I worked in petrochemicals for many years, about 14 years, and I'd already started my professional organizing business. And so I decided I needed to break, like I needed to get out of there for a bit, and ended up working into organizing full time. And so my business has evolved from professional organizing, helping people with clutter, with things in their space, to things on their mind. I've worked with clients that are diagnosed with hoarding condition. I've worked with seniors, and I work with lots of business people. And now primarily my clients are neurodivergent people. And so a lot of people don't recognize the organizing and productivity industry has kind of been the hiding place of neurodivergent people. And so what I have really fashioned part of my business into is, because I was already working with a lot of people on time management, on productivity, how to get things done, right? How to show up and get things done. A lot of those clients were coming to me, and that is what a big part of my work is about. But other than that, I'm from Alabama, here in the States, a Southern girl. And I just really love the way that things are going right now in my life and in my business. I appreciate being able to serve people as a coach. And thank you all for having me.
One of the questions that we would like to ask is, what is a personal productivity coach, and why would someone need one?
That's a great question. So one of the things that happens in life is stuff needs to get done. You've got the morning that has to be gotten to. You've got to get to work on time. You need to eat. You have tasks that actually have to be completed in the office. Oh, what was that thing that my manager said that I need to remember and actually do something about, right? The tasks can pile up. And depending on where you are, both in your career, in your tenure in a role, and in your executive functioning, it can cause you challenges. So what I do as a productivity coach, whether I'm working with I'm working with leaders, I come in and I help people to make it easier to get things done. And the reason why you might decide, hey, I need this, is if time blindness impacts you, right? You're doing lots of stuff and feel really busy and not actually accomplishing, checking things off the list. If you have issues with email, if the communications are not flowing the way that you really want them to, or it's really just hard to get started, to keep going, or to get tasks completed, those are times that a productivity coach could be impactful for you. So I think really just looking at it from a standpoint of, hey, I can't get things done. And I've tried all the things that I can try. And for whatever reason, that planner is still in the corner looking at me all dusty and stuff, just looking at me, but not actually helping me to get things done. A productivity coach could help you to get things done.
That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I encounter quite a lot of problems in terms of my planning, and I was actually sharing this with Shauna earlier that I decided to start a master's degree after a couple of years that I've been thinking about going back to education. I'm in full-time employment, and I'm a mom, I'm a wife, anyways.
Full-time life.
Full-time life. And so I applied, got through the process, interviews, everything. And then all of a sudden, the induction day for the course was today. And I accepted to come along to the induction because it was only going to be like a few hours, and then I could come along and do other things. And then I also, by the way, I use two diaries. I use my work diary and my personal diary. So they're not in sync, which I was thinking you'll probably be someone who would be able to help me in that sense. And so throughout the whole day, I was having reminders. I looked at my calendar this morning and I was like, oh no, I was meant to go to an appointment for my son's a special needs plan, and then I can't go to that, and then I realized, oh no, I have to take the dog for his year vaccinations and appointments, and I booked that like a whole month ago. Oh no, my daughter, who's going to pick her up? Sorry, my son, who's going to pick him up from school? And I was like,
I'm just counting off. So the audience, we can see each other, which is fun, right? So I'm just holding up fingers and counting off all of the different things that she's saying. Hey, all of these need to happen in this day, and we're up to 7. So
exactly. And I could not do any of those because I did not plan properly. And it was like, they sent me the calendar invite last week. So what I should have done from the get-go was to say, I'm sorry, I can't come to the induction because I've already have all these commitments that were in the diary for a whole month. And I'll just, join the lessons when they start the following week and do everything I needed to do. I just got so excited and sort of deleted all these other priorities and went ahead to the induction. The induction was good. But also, I'm feeling like I've also failed so many different other aspects of my planning, because I didn't sort of think this, and this is a daily occurrence. It's not just today. So that leads to my next questions. How could a client or someone that would come to you and say, oh, this is my issue, where would you normally get started?
I really appreciate you walking through an average day, because that happens so many times for my clients. You have these really good intentions. You're trying to be a good employee and team member. You're trying to now be, a good student. You're obviously trying to be an awesome mom. You're trying to make all of these things happen that are all pieces of your life. And like you said, hey, I've got this diary over here. I've got some things written out. Oh, well, I had this reminder, the notice that came through and asked me. They asked, and I said, yes, I have time. But then the pieces that you don't always remember, like you said, you got excited. There's emotional attachment to each of those things. And you could be someone who your ADHD shows up with emotional regulation or dysregulation in certain ways, depending on the task, depending on the person that it's about, depending on the time of day. Like, child, I can't do it right now. I can't do it. But then in addition to that, one thing that comes up so much, and part of what I try to re-educate my clients on, is that there's really no such thing as time management. You cannot manage time. Time is what it is. The sun rises, the day passes, the sun sets, and that ain't have nothing to do with you. You experienced it, but you can't control it. You can't manage it. You can't just, throw up a lasso and wrangle the sun and say, stop, I need 2 more hours to make this thing happen. I wish we could. So where I usually start with my clients is exactly what you were talking about. It's having that conversation about what an average day looks like for you. What does it look like in the time when you are at home? So from the time you wake up, what time do you actually even wake up? Okay, starting from there. Then what happens? Then what happens? Then what happens? Oh, I try to make breakfast. I do these things for the kids. I try to be out the door at this time, and then I lose my keys, or I forgot I didn't have my ID. I've got to go back. I've got to circle back. Okay, I get in the office and I sit down and I thought I had a plan, or I knew I had some appointments, but they weren't in my diary. They weren't on my plan. And then I've got all these emails. So trying to understand what are all of the different pieces of your day on an average day, right? Because things can change, but also understanding what your energy looks like throughout the day, understanding how it is that the tasks that you may be assigning to yourself, right? Some things may be assigned by others, other things are assigned to yourself. But what are the priorities? What are your values? How do these things end up on your plan for the day? And then we can start having the conversation about matching those priorities and intentions to getting action on the plan that you want to take for the day. So it really all starts with you helping me understand what's going on right now. Let's be clear. And then another thing is, I like to have a conversation with my clients about their definition of productivity. So, Anna, what is your definition of productivity?
My definition of productivity probably is completing all of my tasks that I designed on the day. So, see if I've got a plan and if that plans go according to how I, all the points that I've set out to do in the day. And if that's all completed to satisfaction, then I was productive.
Okay, that's a great definition. And the reason why I was holding my breath as you said that is because there's a little bit of a little bit of a reaction that is happening because you said complete all of the tasks that are designed in the day according to the plan, all of the pieces. You're making it so absolute
Yeah.
that it could build in some all or nothingness. That if your perspective is, if I don't get all of these things done that I had assigned and that I planned, how was my day going? So at the end of the day, you could be left feeling like you didn't actually accomplish anything, like your day was not well spent, that you overplanned, you're beating yourself up about it and not really sure where to go or what to do because you got to get up and do it again tomorrow. And now you're behind. So who's going to fix that? Who's going to fix that? Who's going to make it work? And so I really like for my clients to have a definition of productivity that works. The definition that I use, I invite others to, is productivity is doing the things that are most important with the time you have available without going crazy. You still need to eat. You still need to sleep. You still need to bathe. I'm going to encourage you to bathe. Take care of yourself, right? That is built into it. But also, like I mentioned before, that piece around energy management, also, like I mentioned before, where are you with your functioning? What are your strengths? What are the things that it doesn't even make sense for you to be the one focused or worried on doing? And then have a list that is crisp. You know what the action is, you know by when what is needed so that you can be accomplished and feel accomplished at the end of your day. What if we started with that?
Excellent. That's really, really good. I mean, like I said, we always have these vision of what it feels to be productive. And if you don't complete the task that you set out to do on that particular day, you do end up feeling like you fail. And then obviously if you're having unrealistic lists, because sometimes we can't put a lot of things on ourselves that we know we're not going to accomplish. Then the next day we have to add it to another list and then another list. And then in the end, we're just stressing ourselves. And this is where, I don't know, I think it would just lead to other health problems because obviously it's leading to anxiety and you're going to be stressed, and then you're going to burn out.
Exactly.
And it just gets worse. Okay, that's really good. Thank you for those tips. Specifically explaining what productivity means, because for me it was just not I wasn't quite sure. So now tell us a little bit about yourself. I think you've mentioned at the beginning, but just to go back and break it down a little bit. How did you become a coach, and why is it important to you?
So where I started on my journey to become a coach, as I mentioned, I had my business, A Tailored Space. It was focused on organizing primarily physical space. But more and more people were coming to me to help with the space between their ears and the space that wasn't showing up on their calendar to get all of the things done. And so what I decided to do in helping those clients to be able to make progress, even when they couldn't just move stuff, was to get a different set of skills. And so I started coaching training, and it was really effective for my clients. And so I kept going. The thing about coaching that some people don't know, we're quite unregulated. It's how you end up with a lot of people who potentially are offering more than what they're capable of helping their clients to achieve. A lot of people are wary of Instagram life coaches. No offense to anyone who is a life coach on Instagram. But what ends up coming forward is that without coach training, you miss out on the opportunity to partner with your client to help them to generate the transformations that are specific to their needs, to their strengths, and really to the vision of the future that they have for themselves. So in me starting my training back in 2013, I hope that's not telling my age. Back in 2013, to getting certified, to continuing to work one-to-one with clients, as well as expanding into businesses, so teams and organizations. I also am a coach trainer. I'm assistant coach for the Coach Approach program, which I was initially certified through in the ADHD and life coaching courses. And so for me, just kind of going from how do I help my clients more to learning a skill set that expanded into many more clients than who I thought initially I'd be able to help. And a lot of people, it starts off with business, but it gets into a lot of the personal. It gets into a lot of the personal because this is about you. It's about your values. Me, in using the phrase a personal productivity mentor, it is personal because I want for this to be specific to you. I could offer a course, offer a program. I've done it before where I say, hey, here's steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But there are times that clients need more one-to-one support. And that is what a lot of times that individualized coaching does, that investment in yourself. Yes, it transfers in dollars to me, but it is an investment in yourself and really how you want for your life to work. So yeah, a lot of that to say it just added a different level in terms of me being able to help my clients. And that's from CEOs of corporations. That is to clients who've had traumatic brain injury and are just trying to gain some independence. It is to women who say, hey, I have ADHD. My child has ADHD. I think my spouse has ADHD, and the house is a wreck. What do we do? How can we make life work? And my motto had always been make room for your life, right? In terms of my business. But how can you do that when your thoughts are cluttered, when your day is cluttered, when your space is cluttered? Right. You have to be able to get some bandwidth and have perspective. And that's part of what I get to do for people through coaching. So I'm really honored to work with my clients. They're all amazing people. And it's kind of been a long path to get here.
It's amazing, amazing, amazing work. I think the first time I heard of a personal productivity mentor or coach was about 3 months ago in a seminar we did at work for neurodiverse women,
Oh,
ethnic minority women. So I co-lead the ethnic minority working group in at work, and we had like a guest that came along and said I was actually telling them all my little issues about organization, specifically at work. And then she said, oh, you know what, you can have access to a coach. um, and I was like, what? And they said, yeah. And the work, and they obviously they don't tell you about it. HR doesn't talk about it, but you can apply for it through the adjustments that they provide at work.
mhm.
And I didn't actually look into that because I thought they said, oh, this person's gonna join you when you're working, and they sort of sat in the background and they kind of giving you prompts as to
Mhm.
what do you do now, what do you do next, or for example, you have a meeting. How do you think have you ready for this meeting? Have you read the papers? Or are the papers ready? And I thought, oh God, that's a little bit odd because I sometimes I work from home, so this person would obviously be in the background trying to keep tabs on me, and I was just like, oh, I don't know how that would work. Is that something you've probably done in the like in your work line, or
It
is it
is.
more like one to one in a separate space?
It's been both. I'm not always in the office in real time with my
Yeah.
clients, but I do have times where we're doing some observation, either virtually or a body doubling experience. So, for example, I have one client who says, I've got, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 projects that they've listed off, of which they need to make some progress on this week. And so part of what we would do in our session is to sit and actually work through her process for prioritizing and planning her action, right? Her time, her calendar for the day. I meant for the week, sorry. And then checking back. And so it can happen in all of those phases. We just literally walk through, tell me all the things. Okay, now let's talk about prioritizing. What makes this more important than this? What's the time bounding on this? By when is this due? What's the, how much of this activity needs to happen for it to be good enough? If you were to work on this thing, how would we feel? I actually have a set of questions, 5 questions to ask before adding anything to your to-do list. And I ask people to walk through those, right? Like, does this meet your values and needs? Is this something that's timely and important? Does this make you feel good? Why are you doing things that don't make you feel good? Well, that's my job. Well, let's talk about this job. Or let's talk about how this thing fits in with who you're trying to be, what this job allows you to do. Is this a perspective shift? Is it not a good fit? Like, let's have those conversations, but really help them decide how they can determine the exact action that needs to happen and sequence them. A lot of times that is a challenge for my clients with ADHD. It's a project management piece. So how do I take this task? How do I get clear on what the action actually is? And then how do I sequence that along with the other steps that may need to happen? You could very easily put something on your list for today or on your calendar that says John's email. But what does that
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Do you need to read the email from John? Are there attachments? Do you need to actually read and process the attachments? Is it that you've already read it and you need to respond to John? Do you need to research before you formulate a response to John? Is it that John's email needs to be forwarded over, to Anika? Like, what needs to happen around this email to John? So getting very specific on that and helping you to sequence those things into your day so that you have the time that's reserved. You know what it is that you are trying to do, right? So you can check it off that list and have the thing done at the end of the day. but also how it may or may not fit in with other tasks that you have to do. Because if you have that tendency to hyperfocus, that email, any attachments, wondering what's happening with this other person, let me add some more, and then you spent 3 hours on an email when it could have been approached differently, and you still have gotten the impact that you potentially needed to have there. So I do that. It could be via your workspace. Most of my clients are virtual in that way, observing them doing their work and then working on, okay, what does this look like for you? What are your strengths? How can you be more efficient? Let's look at in terms of the tasks that you have. Are they actually prioritized, or are you just working from a laundry list, a Santa Claus list? It might be so long, it's a Santa Claus list, unending of what needs to happen, right? And you're just wishing and hoping that if you're, a good enough girl, everything will get done on that list.
Absolutely. Yes.
We need to, actually take a step back, set some intention, get some things on your calendar, plan your time, not manage your time, plan the tasks that you have into the time that's available for the day, right? And set work blocks that allow you to focus on the outcome you want from executing that task and make progress towards getting them complete. So those are all things that can happen during the session. Understanding what their process is, setting their prioritization scheme, all of those things I do with my clients. And like I said, whether it's virtually in real time or they're coming in and saying, hey, this is where I've gotten to. Okay, well, let's check in. How does this work with the way that you saw this happening? Where'd you get to this week when you actually did go in and execute those things? Those are all conversations for coaching.
Absolutely. That is excellent. And it's sort of like, it's, I feel like everybody should have this. Everyone should have a coach.
I think everyone should have a productivity coach.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I am definitely going to ask for your services. I'm going to become one of your clients. I mean, it's amazing because it's, when you're mentioning all of these things, I was thinking back to when I was studying. For example, when I was in secondary school, at the time, I was not diagnosed with dyslexia or dyspraxia, but they knew I had a learning difficulty. They just never did assess me. It wasn't until I got to university that one of the lecturers said, I think that you might be dyslexic. Are you interested in having an assessment? And I said, yeah, why not? I have always known I've got learning difficulties, but I've never. And it was the first time that I actually heard the term dyslexia. So I went ahead, did my diagnosis and everything, and then I received all the help that I needed. And at the time, I had a study skills coach.
Okay.
So this was paid with the sort of allowance they give you when you've been diagnosed and you have access to technology, all of this extra time, all of that. But one of the things that did help me the best was having this study skills tutor. So I would go to this person and they would look at my work, they would organize it in a way that it was understood by the reader, that everything that I've written made sense compared to, that the question that was asked was being answered, referencing, all of that. And I had these one-to-ones once a week for 2 hours. And then I was like, when I finished my degree, I graduated and I joined the workplace. And then I'm just now left on my own because all of my life I had that extra help to get me through school, to get me through work, and then to get me through secondary school and to get me to my undergraduate degree. And then once I joined the workplace, I was just like, oh dear. Okay, so I told them I've got dyslexia, I've got dyspraxia. At the time, I did not know I had ADHD. I just thought I had depression and anxiety. And so they just said, "Oh right, okay, you've got dyslexia. Okay, so these are the this is the technology that you need. We'll give you Dragon. We'll give you Clara Reed. And is there anything else?" And I was just like, I don't even know myself, like because I need
Right.
to be doing this job first in order
Right.
to understand what other adjustments you can put in place for me to do this well. And I've struggled. I've struggled so much. Even during my work time, I've had to have periods where I have to be out on sick leave because I was completely burnt out. I just could
Mm,
not handle a full-time job and being a working mum. It was too much for me. So I feel like this is something that everyone should be aware of, specifically Black women who have got autism, ADHD, any sort of neurodiverse or neurodevelopment disorder. I don't like the word disorder, but
brain
that's what.
brain brain-based conditions is the way that
Yes.
I was taught to say it, right? So
Ah,
brain-based
thank
condition or
you.
neurodiversity. Yeah, I understand. I
Yes.
don't even like the word comorbid. I'm like, that's not a nice
No,
word. So yeah, I
no,
get it. Some of these
absolutely. It's
terms
about
are horrible.
Going to slip in here just to give Teresa some context since she's American. I from previous episodes know that you guys don't have as much support in the US at the workplace that comes through the government as
Yeah,
we
and I was
do.
going to mention it, and so I am aware of that. I actually do have a few friends and colleagues that are, from the UK, and actually one has a background in nursing, and she's actually still there. She needs to be on y'all's podcast too. We need to talk about that. And also, yeah, y'all need to talk to Dawn. And also, another who is in the States, Stephanie Antoine. And so she helps me compare and contrast what's available in terms of the supports, in terms of we call accommodations, which you're calling adjustments, but I know what you're talking about. And
excellent.
right, and so our Disabilities Act here, it's still fairly young in regards to workplace regulation and lawmaking type of a perspective, age-wise. But what we experience here is kind of different. We have those times. What was similar, I will say. You mentioned, I just got in this job. I don't know all the things that I need. They kind of said, "Hey, here's
Yeah.
your ADHD at work starter kit. Boom."
Yeah.
Here's your
Exactly.
dragon, here's we told your boss you need this extra time when they give
Yes.
you assignments, these type of things. But so many times you don't always know what it is that you need. And like you said, I need to understand this role at different points in your life. It's going to call for different functioning. So depending on what your challenges are, whether it's something around decision making, whether it is something that's actually around your planning, whether it's around metacognition, like can you self-monitor? Do you have issues with emotional regulation? Because they like to say the Black girls always got an attitude, and why is she so mad? Well, first of all, we have a right to be mad because y'all be tripping,
Exactly.
but also. We're
Yes.
not mad. You're asking us to express things that you're not allowed, to claim all of my emotions. It's like you suck up all my time, labor, energy, talent, and wonder, right? All the wonder that is me. And you want me to give you all my emotions. Like, give me my space to have my own. But so yeah, if it's emotional regulation challenge, it's going to affect your ability to be composed in a meeting, right? I work on executive presence with a lot of my clients as well as professionals. How are you being perceived by others? Because they're the ones that are assessing you and determining what your bonus is at, the renewal of the year, whether you're going to get a raise or a promotion. All of those things come into play. But if you haven't been in the role, how do you know what you need to be able to show up? One, to some extent, how they expect, but also to be able to more fully and more authentically be yourself and bring your best self into the room. And that's what we hope that you are able to do, diagnosed or not.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I can't diagnose you. I don't care. It doesn't matter to
Yeah.
me. I cannot
Yeah.
diagnose you. And so for me, I'm going to work with who you are and what it is that you need. And until you get to a point where you are unable to meet the requirements for your job role, right? There's a lot of times that coaches end up working with employees of companies because they're like, this person needs to be on a performance improvement plan. It's like, no, you've let this person work here for 3 years without getting clear on how they are interpreting the expectations that you have set for them. Either they're not clear, either they're changing. You really don't follow what it is that you have written. And you don't give them the opportunity to help you understand how they best function. And so are you putting someone in a role that works from their strengths, regardless of what their degree or certification says, right? Are you giving them the chance to do their best work for you? And are you giving them enough support, as well as enough latitude for their brains to work in the uniquely brilliant way that their brain works so that they're getting you, the best of them? So yeah, at work situations sometimes can be difficult. Being able to access through an employee assistance plan, we call them EAPs, which you were referring to, the additional on your insurance.
Yeah.
Right. Being able to access that. I know folks who do that as professional organizers. Of course, they have help for finances, health coaches, productivity coaches, all different types of resources that potentially are available to you. You won't always know until you're having a problem. It's interesting. You're saying, hey, I went from elementary to secondary in university and now in the workplace. Yes, you have different needs at different points in your life, but there's also this expectation that like, hey, you've made it this far, you're good, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're an adult, you're good.
Yeah.
You survived.
Yeah.
So you'll be fine.
That's my husband right there.
You'll be fine. It's all good. Don't worry about any of that. But the reality is, like I said, at different points in your life, there are your executive function is going to be different. The energy levels and stress levels are going to be different. A lot of the challenges that I have with executive functioning are hormonal for women at different times in your life. Those are going to be different. And the ways in which society even accepts us showing up, right, in the way that we present as women in our gender, and with the much more frequent cycle that we have from what men may have in terms of hormone fluctuations. It's just different. What's acceptable is different because the world was not built by us. It's the same thing can be said in regards to being a Black person. The world was not built by us. If it were, it probably would be much more communal. It would be much more compassionate. It would potentially not be as what we call capitalistic. It's not even necessarily always about the money. It's about what's for the good. Can we do what's for the good and have it to where everyone is all right? Our communities are taken care of, where people are safe. We feel safe, and we can have a great life. I'm not a socialist. I'm not like, oh, capitalism is so exploitive, but hello, American descendant of slaves. Capitalism is exploitive.
Yes.
So
exactly.
When we understand.
100%.
But we understand that our labor adds value. Our labor adds value. As Black women, our emotion and our caring has always added value to the community, whether it's just within your home and your family, beyond that, with your employers, out into the workforce, the contributions that we make to the world across all different career fields. It's amazing. I had a conversation with one of my clients recently, and I asked her, I was like, what do you think the world would be like without neurodivergent Black women? We're not assessed. We're not necessarily diagnosed, but we see the big picture.
Yeah.
And what if our ability to bend and to flex, to see things differently, to think about things differently, to process and engage with the world differently, what if that was that Black girl magic they're always trying to extract from us?
Yeah.
But when you understand that you have such a low number who are diagnosed as children, and when you think about the number of us that probably are twice exceptional, right? Oh, she's very smart. Like you said, hey, I suspect that I am AU, what I call AU, ADHD, autistic and ADHD. A lot of the things that come through that, they say, hey, oh, you're high functioning, or, oh, this person's very smart. She's well behaved. So she doesn't, show up on our litmus test of having an issue, because we think this is a behavioral problem when it's really a brain-based problem. right? It's about our wiring and the way our brains process and therefore allow us to engage with the world. And what if it is just different?
Yeah.
And what if all neurodivergent people were allowed to just be themselves and do the thing that they are best at and what their strengths allowed them to do? The contributions would be so different and the world would be so different. Work would be very different. And I think it's part of the reason why so much of the tech industry has embraced neurodiversity much more than some other sectors of the workforce have, is because they recognize that creativity and innovation, being able to look at and see things differently, to think beyond, to not always be in order, is what puts you ahead, like literally allows you to leapfrog in terms of the way in which you can advance your products and the services that you deliver to the marketplace. So I don't want anyone to ever, think that there's anything wrong with being neurodivergent, that, there are challenges that are faced in being a Black woman with ADHD in the workplace. But I definitely, want for everyone to recognize it's okay to say, hey, it's not working the way it used to anymore, and I need some help. And that help can look like a coach.
Absolutely. So basically, I mean, you've kind of answered my next question.
Oh, yay!
So in the sense, it was about the challenges that a neurodiverse woman would face in the workplace, and how you would help them as a coach to overcome those challenges. But you mentioned quite a lot of that, and I feel like what you've said has touched a nerve, I think. Touched a nerve? No, because I feel like it's hit home, because we are perceived in so many different ways, and I mean culturally as well. Yep. People do not want to accept that it's not an illness, that is not something that is detrimental to you, but in a way, it's just helping society be better. It's helping people see the differences. We're all very different in so many ways, and to kind of not live in a world that caters for all can be so exhausting, can be so tiring, can be devastating. And that in itself is a big, massive challenge. Like you said, the world was not built by us. I think it was the other way around. We did build the world.
We did build the world. Yeah. Can I mention?
Yes.
One other thing that you kind of hinted towards, in terms of what I help my clients with. A big piece of that is around self-acceptance.
Yes.
So my sweet spot is with Black women with ADHD in STEM. And I have to have STEAM, right? So I have to have the arts, because I do have a lot of clients who are creatives also.
Awesome. I'm in the STEM, so sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no worries. Awesome. So you understand.
Yes.
But yeah, being able to recognize you're a minority within a minority within a minority within a minority, and being isolated and being expected to conform hard, like to very neurotypical ideas, right? About what a technical professional or a STEM person would be, is very difficult. And a lot of my clients, we spend a lot of time working on learning to see themselves and their ADHD, and to regain trust in themselves through the consistency that they built in their ability to make decisions in a way that works for them, and to build routines and systems for their work, and to be able to show up in a way where they're much more confident, because they know who they are and they know that they can be themselves in any circumstance. It doesn't mean that, they're running around waving the big ADHD flag over their head.
Yeah.
But it does mean that they can feel more confident in their work. They can advocate for themselves, and that they accept that they are who they are, that they know what their strengths are, and that they do have power in the conversations that happen in the assignment and execution of the work that has to be done in all those different ways. And what a lot of times that challenge ends up being is that you're putting a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of energy into hiding and trying to fit in and be like, because that's what, what that workplace is and what you feel it expects. But I think a lot more people are surprised at how it's accepted, how when the conversation was had with your supervisor, they helped pay for you to get a coach, and how when you said, hey, this process doesn't make sense, for me this way in my role. What about if we try it this way? That other people agreed. And now this is the standard way that you do the work, that you're able to speak up and contribute and not feel diminished or like, hey, I'll say the wrong thing, getting, super anxious about all the what ifs and just, kind of having that cycle of dread that you procrastinate and don't put off and don't let your voice be heard. It's not worth it. It's not going to be worth it to you personally. Like you said, you just kind of have this downward spiral into the burnout and the depression, and you just not being able to get up and show up for yourself and not feeling like a full person. And that's not ever what I want anyone to feel. So being open to seeing yourself and loving yourself and accepting your ADHD or whatever other brain-based condition that you may have, and then building from there is always what my clients come away with.
Excellent. How long does one of your clients stay with you? Is it like a long-term process? And what does that look like?
It's interesting because as I have worked with more and more clients with brain-based condition, my engagement is longer. So 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
6 months to a year. And I have sometimes folks will leave and come back. There are times where folks may say, hey, it's been a few months and I think I've got it. And I say, okay, that's great. And so let's do our closeout and, really just check in that you've got all the things that you feel like you need to move forward. When clients come to me, I tell them I don't do one-off coaching sessions.
Right.
I don't. Coaching is a process. The things that you're experiencing in your life, it didn't just, magically appear overnight just because you got those few letters on that page. It really is about rewriting the script that you've been telling yourself about who you're not, to working into, who you want to be and how you show up and how you can make things happen. And so it does take time. I ask for folks to be willing to come in and invest at least 3 months, 90 days, right?
Good.
So if it's taking you 90 days to do cellular turnover when you're working on a new, improvement in your diet, then why not give it the same thing when you're looking for a renewal of your mind and your self-image and the ways in which you do things. But that's more than enough time to see change. Can clients see change and have impact in one session? Yes.
Yes.
But what I don't want to have happen is for someone to have those really quick wins and then walk away and feel like they're out there stranded again and be, feel embarrassed or cautioned about coming back and saying, hey, I need more help. I work with my clients at least 3 months, but moving out more towards 6 months to a year on average.
Excellent. Yeah, because I feel like it's a lifelong process. Like, and I feel like you're kind of unpacking behaviors that you've had a person.
Exactly.
Me, for example, as an adult, I'm not going to tell you my age, but
it's okay, girl. You look good. Don't let anyone ever tell you. And I plan on living to be 100. I have lots of centenaries in my family, so no one will ever know how old I am.
Yes, it shall be done, and it will be. So I obviously have had behaviors or patterns and ways of doing things. And I can't expect to have like, a couple of sessions, for example, and then my life is all sorted. And I think you should allow yourself to go through that process of unpicking. And as you said, it's all about self-love. I would imagine that some of your clients will come to you with low self-esteem and just kind of like a lot of, I don't know, heaviness on their shoulders, and kind of distressed and sad about things. And then I feel, like you said, that's something that you start to working, not only kind of like, okay, let's plan how you're going to do these, or the questions that you ask to go through each step, but also how I'm going to change that mindset and how I'm going to look at myself and appreciate, as you said, that time,
Mhm.
day, night, it's going to happen anyways. And then you kind of have to accommodate to that, but loving yourself and giving yourself that leeway to say, okay, oh, well, it didn't happen today. Let's start again tomorrow.
Yeah. So
Right?
starting from where you are and working into getting those systems and routines in place, having structure, right? You cannot build a building in one day. Even, you have the bridge in the background. You couldn't build a bridge in one day, right? So one day session or one time of work may not be enough. It may help you to start to answer some questions and see what things can change and even make a change. But in terms of being able to have the consistency, that can be hard with ADHD.
Yeah.
Being able to get that and build it into routine and undo habits and build new, better serving habits does take time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I have got like one last question, and
Okay.
I would be interested to know how would I, if I'm interested to become a coach, for example, how would I get into this line of work to become a certified, I think, professional coach? Because I think earlier you mentioned that obviously there's a lot of people online who claim, or people who would say, is there like, what do I look for? Well, what does a person look for when they want to become a coach?
Okay.
I think
So
that's two questions.
yeah, I was gonna say it feels like two questions. So I want to make sure. I want to make sure. So I hear the
Yeah.
question of what do you look for in a coach, and then
Yes,
how could one become a coach?
that's correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. And yeah, they are kind of connected. So okay, so the first question, what to look for in a coach? I would definitely say the first thing is someone who is able to articulate to you what the outcome is that they get for their clients. I don't say certification first because not every good coach that I know is quote unquote certified, but all the good coaches I know have had training. Right. So someone who is getting outcomes for their clients that you say that you want, and their clients say so. You're allowed to ask that, not just because it's on their website, because their clients say so. And then someone who's had training. There's something different between what a coach does, what a therapist does, and what some other type of advisor, personal advisor, may do with you or for a client, or even a consultant, right? They're not the same. As I mentioned before, coaching is that partnership, right? So we're sitting down and we're making agreements from the very beginning and all along the way of that relationship to ensure that we're working towards the outcomes that you want. If you coming to me and you just want me to fix you, solve all your problems, and tell you what to do, it's going to be a long road to hoe. We are going to have some challenges. It really is about having someone to not just give you the answers, but to help you to formulate the answers for yourself. And that's why I said, hey, it's personal productivity. Productivity is personal. It has to be specific to you. And if you're working with a coach, a productivity coach, any kind of coach, and all they have is cookie cutter, it might work for you, it might not. It might work for you, it might not. So someone who's willing to take a personalized approach to the challenges that you're facing, right?
Excellent.
Someone who's willing to be professional and actually have a contract. Like you could just, do whatever, but we could meet for lunch without a contract. But in terms of us, like I said, having those agreements and being clear, what is it that I should expect from you? What are you expecting from me? That's something that I need to understand as well, and be specific about what their process is, right? Like, how do I start working with you? What does that look like along the way? How do payments work? How does scheduling work? All of those things. So someone who's actually operating in a professional capacity, right? Because those are basic business professional things. Someone who is skilled, who has training. They could be certified. They could not be, but at least someone who has the experience and is effective in those partnerships to get their clients the outcomes that they want to reach. Those are like the top things that I tell people to look for when they're looking for a coach. Another thing that I will say is someone who you feel that you are able to connect with and work with, right? Because you could have something that work says, oh, work with this person. And you say, I talked to them. That's not the person for me. There are a lot of Black women who come to me in part because I'm a Black woman and we can skip some of the stuff, right? I understand and get where they're coming from, but that doesn't mean all my clients are. And so that's a piece of it as well. Someone who you are comfortable with, that you feel like you are able to be honest and open and clear with, because we'll be exploring some deep stuff. Like, this is your life. This is real stuff. So we've got to be able to have that connection and that trust between us. And if you don't have that, then the partnership is not going to work as well as what you hope. And so that's kind of the first question. The second question, in terms of how someone can become a coach. So specifically, I'm a productivity coach, but the program that I came through has a few different tracks. They do have a track for certified neurodiversity coach. They have a track for professional organizing, certified organizing coach, a productivity leadership coach, which is the path that I'm on, and then also a life coach. The thing about the program that I feel is very significant is understanding what if your instructors are actually coaches. Are they accredited? Are they working under the umbrella of some governing body? And what that does is it gives you some assurance that they're actually working with some code of ethics, right? That they are being held to that by other professionals in their industry as well. That they are expected to have some level, right, of education and learning, and ongoing education and learning. The world is changing. Even the world of coaching is changing. More people want, in-person coaching. More people want group coaching. But what coaching looks like for a group may not be the same as what coaching looks like for an individual. What coaching looks like for someone who may need broader, bigger picture life coaching isn't necessarily the same as what someone who needs ADHD coaching may be. And so that the program that you are looking to enroll in actually would allow you to work with the clients that you want to work with. I talked with someone the other day and she said, hey, I met this guy and he was saying that he's a life coach and, he does all of these things. But when she was telling him about what she experiences with her ADHD, he said, oh, I wonder if that is the reason why I didn't have success with this client that I just had. And when he talked about it, the things that he said, she was like, yeah, that kind of sounds like someone who's neurodivergent or has ADHD, which he has no experience in. He didn't even have the understanding or knowing that he was not equipped to help that person. And he also did not have the presence and wasn't mindful to refer that person, to potentially refer them to another coach who might be better suited for them. It just ended up being an unsuccessful engagement. And so it's say to some extent, it's almost kind of like a do no harm type of a practice, the same way that physician's oath says that. But yeah, definitely in that way. Like I said, finding the training that's going to be specific. If you want to coach people with ADHD, making sure that program allows you to look through an ADHD lens. So whether they are PAC is a governing body, ICF is a governing body, there are several different programs you're going to find. So if you're just looking online, you're going to find a lot. Even colleges and universities are offering programs. But talk with someone who you know is a coach. If you were coached and had good outcomes with the coach that you work with, ask them what programs they're familiar with, people that they hold in high esteem, what programs they may have participated in, and be prepared for the range of options. So there are some programs that say, hey, you can go through this program in a week-long intensive and potentially be ready for certification. I don't know. Or
Excellent.
You could go through the case where you had a program like mine that was built for people who were full-time working people, right?
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs. We had our businesses and it was more part-time. And it gave you the room to practice coaching in between your courses. But now that looks more like, a 2-year process. And then you're ready for certification. I will brag on my program. It was built by individuals who are neurodivergent. So I tell everyone, go to coachapproachtraining.org, see if that's something that makes sense. But they also have been willing to help fill the gaps, because there are some programs that will get you so far, but not necessarily the hours to credential. So there's always the piece of, do I just want to learn more about some coaching skills that could be helpful? Because I think I can help people, or people talk to me. Right. And so I want to be able to help people with some of these conversations sometimes. So then it may make sense for you just to do like a coaching essentials course, if that's enough, especially like if you're an HR professional or a manager. There are courses that are made just specifically for that person. It could be, hey, I want to take this further. I might want to facilitate a group. I maybe want to transition in career, start my own business. I want to add this as a complement to my business or my practice. So then you may say, hey, I want to go through very robust training, a full training program, and possibly explore certification. And then there are the folks who say, hey, I want to help build this, right? I'm one of those people who had to help build this. And I know you guys have talked to some of my friends, Inga Shea, I think you all had Jay on, a few other folks in the industry, but wanting to be a person who is a thought leader in the industry of coaching, who is building platforms. Like I have the Black Women ADHD Summit, wanting to speak at conferences, right? Hold conversations to advocate on high levels with other advocates, other scientists, physicians, neuroscientists, and psychologists. That may require that next level, right?
Yeah.
And so if you want to do that, that's an option for you as well. So definitely start off understanding the investment may be different. That's the investment in your time. Your energy, as well as the funds that it may take. But depending on who it is that you want to help and what ways that you want to help them, there can be some alternatives that different programs can work for. And, referrals work too. If you know someone who is a coach that gets good outcomes, tap into them, ask them what programs that they may be aware of, or other individuals you can speak to get some guidance on how to move forward with what you would like to do in terms of training for coaching and helping people.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That sounds amazing. And you've given us like very, very good information on how to tap on this as a career. If this is something that you want to do, even something alongside a job, or I feel like someone who I like to impact society, have a sense of social justice in a way. And I feel like I can lead it from front. I mean, I've got 3 kids, and
you're leading. You are leading.
Yeah, and they're all neurodiverse, and I want them to succeed, and to have this as a career or have someone you can go to be coached, it's I think absolutely instrumental to getting ahead and doing things in life. And I don't know, I think the earlier you do it, the better. Because
As soon as
the
you
earlier
have an
you are,
idea, it's accessible to you, right? The world is very different
yeah,
from how it was
totally.
years ago. Just about anything that you want to do, you can get
Yeah,
information on it and reach out and get started. Like I said, even if it's just that essentials, just understanding what some coaching skills are. What is listening to? What is listening from? Right? What is the model for opening up the conversation? All of those things you're able to do through an essentials course, and then just decide if you want to build from there. But it's possible. I mean, there are folks who are parent coaches. There are people who coach other ADHD parents. There are lots of different ways that can happen.
excellent. Thank you so much. So, thank you for coming along today and giving us your time to talk to us and to go through this topic and explain everything to do with coaching. It was a pleasure to get to know you, and definitely we'll continue to talk to you. I will be one of your clients, as I said before. So you'll hear from me soon. So I learned so much today, so much. I had an idea of productivity that was, I guess, in a little right, but I think most of it was wrong. As I said, if you don't at the beginning, I said if you don't tick every single point on your list, then you're not being productive, or if you're not um, progressing at work, or if you're not, I think it's more about completing things in your head that you think that you need to achieve. And if you're not doing those, then you're not being
Yeah.
productive. And I've learned that that's not what it means, to give myself time. I've learned about self-love, learned so much about how people might perceive me in terms of my neurodiversity, and it's not up to me as well. Like it's more about um, them, and sort of advocating for people like me to be seen, to be heard, and um, just let the world know that how creative we can be, how compassionate we can be, how empathetic we can be, and all of the beautiful things that we can bring along to the table within whether it's socially or in a work life, or in a relationship, or in whatever space. So I feel that sometimes we're just so hard on ourselves, and
Yeah.
we should allow ourselves to kind of give us a big pat and be like, well done, well done for doing that. Just the one thing, for example, I was feeling so tired today, and I was just like, oh my god.
Oh,
But yeah.
oh.
But
I
then
totally get it. And
yeah,
you're at the end of the day and have done so much. But
yeah,
energy matters. It is a thing.
absolutely. And doing these recording today, doing the podcast today was probably the biggest achievement of the day. So thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. And if you could please tell our audience how they can contact you, how they can get in touch. So your social handle, if you can tell us, then that would be great.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Thank you again for having me. I know my message is a bit different from like, do more stuff, spend more time, try harder, make more widgets. Like you mentioned,
Love
that's
it.
not that's not how I envision productivity to be. So thank you for
No.
being receptive to that. But yeah, I can be reached at A Tailored Space. So it's like my name, TAYLORED, atailoredspace.com. Same thing on Facebook. Ingershay and the girls are trying to get me on Instagram, y'all. Get me on Instagram. Yeah, same thing. As well as LinkedIn is just my name, Teresa Taylor. And if, I can be of service, just reach out to me. You can direct message me and let me know. I, kind of am platforming myself. You all are so brave with the podcast in the community that you've started with
Thank
ADHD
you.
Babes. As I mentioned, I have the Black Women ADHD Summit. That's each year during ADHD month in October. So we have a while for that. Hopefully you all will be able to come and hang with us for that one. This upcoming month in February, I'm going to be hosting one of our speakers, Dr. Diane Miller. She is a psychologist. She's going to come and to speak with us about sexuality in relationships for Black women with ADHD. That'll be in February. Additionally, I'm working on getting some additional speakers to come. So every month or two, I'll have someone to come on and we'll have these sessions. Those are live and virtual. It's a little late evening time for you all, but I've got to figure out how to make the time change. And then I'm also in the process of hosting a coaching and accountability group. And so that's going to allow the space and time to, learn the things, understand what your systems and routines for productivity are, but also have the support of a community of other people who face the same challenges, but also are having the same successes and small wins, and my support. Additionally, to have the time to actually take action. So being able to work, right, and get support in doing that in a way that works for you is really what I'm looking to achieve there. And so, I will be in touch and let you all know as other activities are coming forward, and invite you to come over to my spot soon, hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's all very, very exciting and very interesting. So looking forward to come along, if possible, if I can join. Thank you.
We'll work on your time zone next time.
Yeah.
We'll get you earlier in the day.
Yeah, it was still quite early though. It's just, I just like, I just
it's okay.
Plan better, I think.
It's okay. Understand. Totally understand.
Thank you.
Yeah. So can I just say one last thing in closing?
Of course.
From my side. One of the things that I like to share with people is just kind of an adaptation of a quote. I don't even remember who said it at this point, but it basically says that when you commit, right, at the point of commitment, the whole universe conspires to your success. And that's one thing that I have seen to be tremendously true with my clients in coaching, that once you make the decision to make space and give yourself the room to be yourself and to show up for yourself, and it gets easier to let other people know what it is that you need, to ask for it and to claim your space and to walk forward and actually progress what your goals are. So I hope that everyone that's listening recognizes that you checking off things off on the list. The work that you produce is not a measurement of your worth as a person, as an individual. Your contribution as a person is enough, and that you get to a point where you feel free enough and accepted enough that you are able to offer that to the rest of the world. So I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. So to support our podcast, please spread the love and share with other ADHDers. If you'd like to join ADHD Babes or learn more, you'll find the links to our website and social pages in the show notes, as well as visiting adhdbabes.com. Thanks for listening. If you like today's episode, please feel free to follow so you don't miss future episodes. Also, review a show to help us grow and let everyone know your thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast. If you're a Black woman or non-binary person and need help and support in managing your ADHD or advice on diagnosis, please visit adhdbabes.com. No clinical diagnosis is required to join. Join us in 2 weeks for a new episode. Until then, all the love from the ADHD Babes team.
Just as I am, can you take me just as I am?